ain't gonna lie, me too. When I went on her page and seen her pictures, I said, oh, jump scare.
The following video has discussions of COSCA, CSA, SA, coercion, rape, and incest. Viewer discretion is advised. Okay, before we get into the meat and potatoes of it all, I'd like to take a minute to thank my sponsor. Courtney, you have a sponsor? No, not really, but Hela made my puppet. And given my phone and subsequently my camera's broken, this video would not be possible without her. Her socials will be in the description so you can hit her up for your own puppet. You know, some people have nice, normal families, happy, normal childhoods, fond memories of tussling with a sibling. Not me. I just have disappointments and the perfect setup for developing borderline personality disorder. My name's Courtney. You may know me as Courtney Orchard. You may know me as Courtney Peet. You may know me as Please Tie My Shoe. Call me what you want, just don't call me late for dinner. I'm the youngest sibling of Lily Orchard and her first victim. I'm the youngest of 3 children. My mother's firstborn, Cameron, is her golden child. My father's firstborn, Lily, is his golden child. And then there's me. Now, when I say the term golden child, that doesn't mean the child has good parents. It just means they're the favored child. The one that can do no wrong and the one for which every excuse is made. The phrase itself doesn't indicate good parents, or even good treatment. It indicates favor. And the favor of an abusive parent is still favor. Cameron is not my father's son. He was maybe 2 or 3 when my mother and father married, and my father only raised him until his own child came along 2 to 3 years later. Cameron was also a violent child, aggressive and had the size to back it up. He flew off the handle at the slightest provocation and would attack my father, usually trying to hit the man intentionally in the balls. My mother made every excuse for this behavior, just as she made every excuse for Cameron being violent towards us younger kids. He's her golden boy and can do no wrong in her eyes. Cameron also used to sexually abuse me. I have every reason to believe it started when I was in diapers, as I was always told growing up that I had frequent UTIs and yeast infections as a baby, more than my siblings ever did. But by the time I was 2 or 3, Cameron had started playing house with me. He would make me be the mom and him the dad, and he would say we had to make babies and would rape me. I was a toddler. I didn't know any better and had been groomed by him for God knows how long, so I didn't resist. I still have the memories of him on top of me. He also used to make me give him blowjobs in his bottom bunk of the bunk beds he and Lily shared. He would hang blankets over the open ends of the bunk to make a fort and then convince me to give him oral. I still remember telling him, okay, but wipe it off first. I'm not putting it in my mouth with pee on it. Because, 3-year-olds don't know what pre-cum is. It was around this time he was also caught with another little girl, a 6-year-old, with her pants down. He was 10. By the time I was 6, and 3 to 4 years into being raped by my eldest half-sibling, my father decided he had enough of Cameron attacking him and made our mother call CPS to have him removed from the house. This thankfully stopped my abuse, not that anyone was aware. I've been asked why I didn't say something to my parents at the time, but here's the thing. I did. 3-year-olds just don't know the word rape. I told my mom on more than one occasion that I didn't like playing house with Cameron. What I was saying was that I didn't like it when he stuck his penis inside me, but that's not what my mother heard. And her response was to tell me that I should feel lucky because not every big brother plays house with their little sister, that he's my brother and I love him and of course I like playing with him. So, with my own mother telling me I should like playing house, and with playing house being rape, my mother told me at the time that I should like my rape and feel lucky for it. This doesn't really encourage one to keep speaking up regardless of them not understanding. I was too young to know they didn't understand. Shortly after Cameron was removed from the house, he was 12, I was 6, and Lily 7, Lily started coercing me into games in private, She usually would ask me to sleep over in her room, and with us being close at the time, I would be happy to. It was during these sleepovers she would try to, and succeed in, talking me into things. Things like letting her practice kissing on me, asking me to come feel this, and would grab my hand and stick it in a puddle of what I now know to be cum on her stomach. She would wait until I was asleep, or at least thought I was, stand over top of me and masturbate, ejaculating on my blankets and crawling back into her bed to sleep. This went on for about 4 years, until I was old enough to realize what she was doing to me wasn't okay, and so I stopped playing along with her games and letting her practice. I didn't understand coercion when I was 10, and thought I was complicit in the game she made me play, so I didn't say anything to our parents. I didn't know how. I just started saying no and stopped sleeping over in her room. This was when she started sneaking into my room while I was asleep. She also started asking me around this time what I thought about incest. If I thought it was a good thing or a bad thing, and why. Like any normal human being, I responded with disgust. That I thought it was fucking gross and I didn't understand why she was asking me this. Lily would get visibly disappointed at my disgust and tell me that she was asking because she thought incest between siblings was the purest form of love there was. This was also when my underwear started going missing off my body at night. I'd go to bed wearing underwear and would wake up to having pissed the bed and my underwear not on my body or in my room. I'd later find them in Lily's room when my mother sent me to collect laundry, in her bed or under it. Speaking of pissing the bed, this is something that I did from diapers until I was about 14 or 15 years old. Also had frequent UTIs and yeast infections as a child until about 13, 14. Bookmark that age in your mind for now. We'll get back to 11, 12-year-old Courtney. I'd caught her sneaking into my room a few times. 3 to be exact. Each time it was when our parents were either still in bed or had left for work already. I'd wake up to my door slowly creaking open and her face pressing through the crack, looking right at me to see if I was asleep. The first time, we made eye contact. She said, "Oh, you're awake." "Sorry." And then backed away from my door, pulling it closed. My bed was right next to my door then. The second time, my bed was across the room from the door. She had gotten the door fully open and had stepped into my room, again staring at me to see if I was awake. I yelled at her to get out of my room. The third time was the same as the second time, only I launched myself out of bed after her, demanding to know what she was doing in my room and why she kept sneaking in while I was asleep. She clammed up, refused to respond, barricaded herself in her own room, and stayed there until I went back to my own. Around the age of 13 is when Lily first got obsessed with Family Guy, and when she first started comparing me to Meg Griffin. Not in a physical way, not at first anyway, but she would constantly tell me how I am just like Meg, how Meg reminds her so much of me. She would also tell me how into Meg sexually she was, started her little fanfic shipping herself with Meg and having a kid with her. She shoved the shitty fan art she made in my face about the kid she had herself have with Meg. All while still telling me how much like Meg I am. How much Meg is like me. And the worst part? I am like Meg. In terms of the family dynamic, her place in it, and the neglect she faces, Meg is a perfect example of my life growing up. Sure, I wasn't physically abused like Meg is, but I was as disposable to my family as Meg is to hers. So seeing that relation myself, while my sister is telling me how much she wants to sleep with the same character, really ruined any connection I could have had to that character. So this brings us up to 14. Remember how I told you to bookmark that age? Well, when I was 14, I got my first job, had my own money, and really started to provide for myself. I had to. It's not like my parents were going to. This is also when I started to advocate for myself. I approached my father the day after I caught Lily sneaking into my room for the third time and confronted her. I told him I was afraid Lily had already been or was going to do something to me in my sleep, that I was afraid of her and what she was going to do to me. My father told me to write down all the reasons I felt that way. Lily had a psychiatrist appointment the next day, and he would take the list to her doctor and speak with him. So I did. I wrote down everything from the Meg stuff to my underwear going missing and her asking me about incest. I didn't list the games because I still felt at fault for not saying no. I gave the list to my father and waited for the next day. When they got back from the appointment, I asked my father what the doctor said. I was told by him that he was told by Lily's own doctor that I was not safe around Lily, and to not leave me alone with her under any circumstances. I don't know if anything else was said or suggested because my father brushed me off after telling me this and wouldn't speak about it further. Making the mistake of believing my parents had my safety as a priority, I relaxed enough about the issue to go to work that night. I worked 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. every weekend. I got home the next morning after work and went to bed. My mother had to work, but it was a Saturday, so my father was home and I thought I was safe. I woke up alone in the house with Lily. Dad had gone to get groceries while I was asleep and just left me there with her. I called one of my best friends in a panic, bawling my eyes out, told her everything. She lived right up the road, so she came right over and sat with me in my room, and I told her everything in more detail, including the fact that my dad was told not to leave me alone with her. My friend said to herself about finding out just how deep this shit with Lily went, and asked her to sit in the kitchen so she could play matchmaker. His friend went about asking Lily what kind of girl she would be interested in, what kind of hair, what color eyes, what body type, etc. After every question, Lily would look over at me. I was doing dishes in the kitchen to listen in on her answers, and answer every question with, kind of like Courtney's. It was the body type question that sent me over the edge. I was cleaning the meat cleaver, so I took it to Lily's throat. I'd already grabbed her by her hair, and I told her I would gut her like the pig that she is if she so much as looked at me wrong. I asked my father for a door lock when he got home. He said no. Walked to Walmart and got myself one, then proceeded to argue with and call my father's bluff when he tried to stop me from putting it on my door. I told him if he wasn't going to protect me, then I would protect myself, and if I had to leave to do it, I would. I stopped wetting the bed that year. My underwear stayed on my body all night, every night from the first night I had the lock. Okay, I'm going to take a page out of Swoop's playbook and put in a little kitty palette cleanser. Enjoy some pictures of Batman and chill music for a minute. Look at him. He's so fat. He's only got 3 legs. He's my little tripod. He also turns 11 in August, so he's an old man. If you guys want to buy this old man a birthday present, he's got a wish list on Amazon. I'll have it in the description below. So, that's the gist of my sexual abuse at the hands of both my siblings. All 12 to 14 years of it. Most of it at Lily's hands, taking advantage of the grooming I faced at Cameron's. I wish I could say that's all I had to deal with in my household growing up, but if I'm being honest, it's only the half of it. The neglect, parentification, victim blaming, and emotional abuse I suffered at the hands of my parents, as well as growing up in a household filled with screaming, fighting, threats of violence, acts of violence, etc., comprised the rest of my childhood. Until I decided that sleeping in a bus shelter in the rain was a better option than going back to those people. And don't think I've forgotten about you, Ethel. I should thank you after all. That greedy stunt you pulled with Bangelina is really what pushed me to stop relying on someone else to get the truth out about my sister and just start my own series. I look forward to what you have to say when I use all the same screenshots that Bangelina used. You know, the ones you don't own. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That's for the next video. Alright, that was rough. More so for all of you than me, really. I'm used to repeating this stuff. Some of you are hearing it all clearly for the first time. Big thank you to the people who helped me make this video. Your suggestions were greatly appreciated. And of course, another big thank you to Hela. Without her, I wouldn't be here looking this amazing. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all in the next one. Buckle up, because we diving into Lily's wrongdoing since I've left the house.